JJ Meets World is brought to you by Weedman Design. Adam Weedman founded Weedman Design Company in 2016 on the belief that one-on-one relationships are more important than being a one-stop shop. Adam works with you to get your message across and make you look good to your clients. Let's face it, folks, this is a day and age where it's easier than ever to be visible, and if you don't look good, you look bad. You can't risk looking bad. Adam designed our logo here at JJ Meets World. He was our first choice. Luckily, we got in there because he's a busy man. And look at what he put together for us. It's absolutely top-notch. For more information, check out weedmandesign.co. That's Weedman, W-I-E-D-M-A-N, design.co.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
There were, I think, 65 episodes of the show Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. And the thing that most people say wrong is Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. It's not that. It's Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. People also say Reese's Pieces. That's not right. It's Reese's Pieces. It drives me nuts when someone latches onto something and they say it wrong their whole darn life. I had a friend who years ago was talking. We were like, "Oh, which one of these?" And he goes, "Oh, I got Tibbs on that." I was like, "Tibbs? Do you mean dibs?" It's dibs. He goes, "No, I'm pretty sure it's Tibbs." So, no, you sound like a moron.
Tibbs sounds like the name of like a pickpocket in a Dickensian story.
Be like,
Tibbs.
Oi there, Tibbs. So it got to the point of where we had an argument, and he called his dad and said, well, is it Tibbs or Dibs? And he goes, well, we say Tibbs in our house because we say Dibs wrong. And I will never forget the look on my buddy's face when he had to finally say, oh, I'm wrong.
We had the same issue with Reading Railroad in Monopoly because it reads as Reading Railroad, but it's Reading Railroad. It's how you're supposed to say it.
No, is that right?
I believe so. And I was thinking, no, it's Reading Railroad. And I'm pretty sure I had an uncle who was like, nope, it's Reading Railroad. And I think we looked it up at the time, and he was right. So now, I mean,
because it's based off of a real rail line, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was how it was pronounced, apparently.
Let's do something quick. Do you play a lot of Monopoly growing up?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can name all of the properties in one color set. Is there one color set that you liked more than anything else?
Park Place and Boardwalk?
No, that is a fool's errand. That's a stupid way to think about like what you want, and that doesn't count. That doesn't count. I'm talking about a full 3 set.
Oh, so not a 2 set. It has to be a 3 set.
Yeah, because of course those are the two most iconic ones.
Is Brown a 2 set or is Brown a 3 set?
Brown is a 2 set.
Okay.
There's 2 sets.
The best and the worst.
Unless you count the utilities, and then you've got the electric company and waterworks. So when I play Monopoly,
but you can't build hotels on those.
You cannot.
No.
I like the oranges and the reds, and I'll tell you why. In chance, there's at least one, go to Illinois Avenue or like go back 3 spaces. There's one like travel to St. James Place, which is one of the oranges. So like, okay, the reds, right? You've got Illinois Avenue, Indiana Avenue, and Kentucky. Boom.
Okay.
Done. Right there. Can you name 3 of them?
I can't. I'm trying to think of a single spot, and I can't think of it right now.
St. James.
I can think of the colors.
It's St. James Place.
There's a jail.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Go to jail.
Mm-hmm. Did you do the house rules where if you land on free parking, then you get money?
Yeah, that's where all the taxes go.
Yeah, you put them in the center and get that.
I always thought that was a good way to do it.
It makes sense. You want to make the money flow as quickly as possible because one of the things that kills that game is if the money's not flowing.
Yeah, if you're pretty much just trading back and forth on low rent or something like that.
Yeah.
One of my favorites was we had a house rule where you would auction. If you couldn't buy a property, so you didn't have the cash flow for it, you couldn't mortgage something, it would go up for auction. And so we'd have auctions against each other for it.
Yeah.
And that's where the game got cutthroat.
I feel like they should have added in the original game, you're building things on certain properties, but they're only really allowing you to build homes and hotels. I mean, they should be able to build other things. You should be able to build like a science center and a movie theater, and you should be able to build like
Who's going to spend money at a science center?
if you
Like a children's
biologists
museum or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, you need R&D, so like that could be what that is. And then,
so maybe if you give up one of your spaces to build a science center, while it doesn't increase the rent, you're able to buy other types of buildings because you've had the development. Yeah. See, now, right here, we're developing a monopoly for the next generation, for the future. Because back in the day when a monopoly first came out, which I believe was like the early 1900s, people didn't need the stimulation that we need now. To them, the idea of building a hotel was like, that's a million years of my hard labor.
This might be completely apocryphal, but I've heard it said that the game was originally made basically as a critique of capitalism, to show how soul killing it can be, because everyone has the story of trying to play Monopoly with your family and then everyone just not talking to each other for a couple days afterwards. That's specific to that game.
Flipping the board, all that kind of good stuff. I would probably agree that that's probably why it was there. I mean, also, it's sort of the dream, right? For you to be this rich tycoon.
Sure.
That was the American dream back in the day. You want a monocle, a top hat. I mean, let's face it, Mr. Monopoly, a.k.a. Rich Uncle Pennybags.
Yeah, that was when money came in bags.
Yeah, with a $sign on the symbol.
I miss that. I miss going to the bank and cashing a check and getting a burlap sack with a bunch of gold in it.
How are you going to know who the thieves are? Mm-hmm. Because if you're not walking out with bags of this...
You got to look for the guys with the little black diamond masks.
Oh, the little bandit masks?
Yeah, and then they've got black and white striped shirts.
It's just like, I've never actually seen a bomb that looks like a Rocky and Bullwinkle bomb, where it looks like a bowling ball with like a wick coming out the top.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that once in my life. I'd just like to see that, if that's possible. There's a bunch of other stuff I'd like to see as things go on. I'd like to see someone make a new version of the, like, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. I think that those are hilarious.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, it's not just the things dancing. It's not just the popcorn and the pop and the hot dog dancing.
Yeah.
But they go through this whole show like it's a circus. And the hot dog bun is taming like a hot dog, is similar to what a lion tamer would do. And so the hot dog does flips, and then the bun opens itself, and the hot dog jumps in. And going to the movies used to be different. You didn't just watch commercials for a while.
Yeah.
They found ways to try and get you to go back to the lobby and enjoy, some more snacks and things like that. And now all the days, we've only got Marcus theaters in the Fargo-Moorhead, with the exception of the Fargo Theater.
Yep.
But who still do not show ads.
Yeah, but I mean, Marcus now has been in town here for a while, and it's one of those things where do you think there's anyone in town here who doesn't know the music that Marcus plays?
Oh, the ba-ba-da-ba-ba, like the beginning.
Working in audio for JJ Meets World, we need like a sound library. And so one of the sound libraries out there that we use, I was looking through it, and they have the Marcus theme song.
What?
And it's way longer than the cut that you hear.
Oh,
do you want to hear it?
I do. I've wanted this to be my ringtone for so long.
I'm going to pull this up, and we're gonna listen through the full Marcus Theater song before it's been edited down. And we'll see how many people still listen to this podcast after we do this. Oh, yeah. Okay, here it is.
Yep, exactly as I remember. Oh!
Is that different?
Yeah.
Dun, dun. I remember this part.
Dun, dun.
Oh, there we go. That's different now. All right, strap in for the next 2 minutes. Can you imagine if we sat through a 2-minute version of the song before every movie?
I can. Like, why didn't they make a 2-minute version where it's like, please throw your trash away?
It's because they got to recycle the new clips every year. So, like, it's probably still got, like, Johnny Depp and Pirates of the Caribbean in it.
That's one of the things that drove me nuts is when they used to have a longer version of the intro is that it's like, you got to keep your movies up to date. I remember I'm actually awaiting to see the sequel to a movie you're promoting in this right now. Come on, guys.
Going on a cinematic journey.
Mm-hmm. And this can be like, remember, only use the restroom if you need to. I think that they could come up with some great things to add.
They could add some more rules to the restroom stuff too, like no eye contact.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
Dispose of your chewing gum in a sanitary manner.
This is strange. I'm having a Pavlovian response. I want popcorn right now.
Me too, so bad right now. Also, it's weird because the studio is light, and I'm like, are they going to dim the lights?
These chairs are not nearly as comfortable at the chairs at your local Marcus Theater. Oh, boy. All right, we're on the home stretch. 30 seconds left.
Da, 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 da.
Not so fast. There's that guitar.
I love that.
That's it.
So some person mixed that in their basement using their synth and using, just a couple other like instruments that they have. Do you think it's a rush for them every time they go see a movie at a Marcus Theater location and they go, oh, that's my song?
It's either a rush or they're like, this is a misuse of the song. Because the song, the title of the song is Big League.
Oh, so he's intending this for
it's definitely
sports?
It definitely has sort of like a sports baseball package sound to it. So I don't know, but I mean it's the kind of song that if you have an account you can use it for whatever you want.
So this is a great way to intro our next guest because...
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, Brent Brandt is a frequent moviegoer, movie lover. He sees everything. I think of myself as somebody who sees a lot of movies, but Brent really sees everything. He not only goes to the regular Hollywood movies, but he also takes time to go out there and check out the stage plays that are showing live. He sits through all the film festival stuff. He, in fact, himself founded a film festival.
Yeah, in South Dakota, the South Dakota Film Festival in Aberdeen, which I go to almost every year, and it's fantastic. And here's the thing that kind of I think separates Brent from the pack, from other people, is his ability to get stuff done, and his ability to for his film festival. One of his main primary roles was to bring in big names to the festival as a draw and show them a good time, and he's done that so well. Stephen Tobolowsky and Molly Ringwald and Kevin Costner,
Anthony Michael Hall.
I mean, the list goes on, and he's a guy that he just knows how to get it done. He's got a ton of energy, and he's fantastic.
He also has a great wardrobe. He always wears these like bright patterned shirts. So it's great if you're meeting him somewhere because you'll be like, oh, there's Brent.
Oh, yeah.
Brent also works his day-to-day job is for a company called Hero, which is like healthcare equipment recycling organization. And they do some pretty cool things out there. And when I needed to borrow a wheelchair, I was able to borrow a wheelchair from him. So it's not what you know. It's
You've got a guy. You need a wheelchair, I got a guy.
Yeah. You need a CPAP machine? A used CPAP machine? I got you covered. I know what's going on.
But Brent has a ton of really great stories about hosting, celebrities when they come to Aberdeen, or now, he's relocated to Fargo. He's got a really interesting life and a really interesting perspective.
Yeah, and he's got a crazy talented son. I don't know if you've ever met Nick, but
yep.
I mean, Brent is going to know another celebrity really quick because Nick is going to go on and do some pretty great things in this world as well.
Now I feel like we need to convince Brent to open the next South Dakota Film Festival with Big League.
Yeah, right. Well, we've got it. You've done the work to find it.
We have it.
All right, now how do we turn that into a ringtone? By the way, can we make a ringtone out of our JJ Meets World theme?
Sure.
I've had a lot of people ask.
Have you?
Yeah.
Sure.
People have been reaching out to me on all of our social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace. But they're looking for
LinkedIn.
something called JJ Meets, MEATS World, which sounds like it's a butcher shop in the Pacific Northwest.
No, we don't want them to do that.
No. Well, I've answered their questions because my dream job as a kid was being a butcher. So, did you know that?
No.
Yeah, that's
Really?
what I want. That's what I wanted to be when I was a kid. I thought being a butcher would be the coolest thing ever.
That's because you saw butchers in like Disney movies and stuff. Like they're the local butcher, and it's like, bonjour, and you've got some sausages.
No, it was specifically Sam the Butcher from the Brady Bunch. He's the one who nailed down Alice, and she was a quirky. Ann B. Davis was a quirky gal. But nobody dislikes their butcher. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who's like, yeah, I don't like the butcher. I don't like this guy who gives me the delicious meats I enjoy.
This is why we need a call-in line, because
We don't have a call-in line?
I feel like you just made a really broad statement that you are asserting as being empirically valid, and it might not be. I bet there's someone out there who's like, I'm in a small town. There's only one butcher, so I don't have an option. And every time I get the meat, it's brown.
So you got right there. You need to make good with your butcher. If he or she is giving you less quality meat, you've done something to offend them.
Oh, you deserve the meat you've got.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so think right now on your actions. Did you tip your butcher? Because I do at Christmas time.
What do you tip them with, though?
I can bring a little gift card. I'm like, hey, thanks for the whole year.
And they're like, yeah, thanks for this gift card to the
Bed Bath & Beyond.
to the Longhorn Steakhouse. I'm literally surrounded by meat every day.
I would never, not in a million years, would I send them to some place that microwaves their meat. Are you kidding me? Well, listen,
Brent Brandt does not microwave his meat.
No. If there's one thing you can say and be sure of and make was it an empirical statement is what you said? Brent Brandt does not microwave his meat. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Brent Brandt to JJ Meets World.
Brent Brandt.
JJ Meets World.
You're not allowed to smoke in here, so you're going to have to put that out.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, Brent Brandt is my guest today. Brent, welcome to the podcast studios. How are you?
Thank you. I'm awesome.
Excellent. So, first things first, of all the celebrities you've met, who has been the coolest?
Wow, that's a grand question, J.J. Gordon.
I know. It's going to segue right into my second question.
That is
so
my
this
answer,
perfect.
J.J. Gordon.
Oh, that's...
Well, of course. Who's cooler?
Oh, you got to set your bar higher. But
Well-
I appreciate that. That being said, I was thinking the other day about my celebrity, and it has never really allowed me to get ahead in the grocery line.
It hasn't?
You know that Tom Hanks is not waiting at a Whole Foods. He gets right to the front.
He does.
He brings 30 items into the express line, and they just wave them through. Now, Rita Wilson, I don't know.
Right up there.
You know, you think so?
Yeah,
you think
of course.
she should
Yeah,
skip
yeah.
up?
She wears a badge that says, I'm Tom's honey. Right? Goes right to the front.
The local paper recently had an article when Rita Wilson was diagnosed with breast cancer, and the way that they had the webpage formatted said, Tom Hanks has breast cancer. And then it's a picture of Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson at an award show. And I was like, oh, my God. Well, there was an ad between the top of the headline, which was Rita Wilson, wife of,
Oh, sure.
and then Tom Hanks has breast cancer.
Gotcha.
That was a scary moment for me because I'm a big Tom Hanks fan.
Me as well.
So,
So the question is, who
yeah.
is the
who's
cool?
who's coolest? Who's the coolest? Who is the one that had the longest lasting impression?
Well, even though I picked up my high school crush, Molly Ringwald, at the airport and spent a good day and a half with her, she'd be a close second.
No, okay.
Stephen Tobolowsky, by far.
Yeah, he's so cool, isn't he?
He is. He's amazing. I spent a great deal of time with him. I've seen him at two times. I brought him to the Midwest, and we had a good time. And I heard so many different stories from him. They were never the same, and they always made me laugh and cry. And he was just a great guy.
We talked
awesome.
at length with him about how he keeps bees
Correct.
now. And he and his wife, Anne, were saying how they have too much honey.
Yep.
And you don't think of things like that when you are watching Groundhog Day and
Exactly.
be like, that guy's going to have too much honey at one point.
Anne's got her own honey. She's got her own label. It's good stuff.
So you have had the immense amount of work to start a film festival like from the ground up and build it into what the South Dakota Film Festival has become today. So that's very exciting. Tell us about the seeds that became the plant that is the South Dakota Film Festival.
It was a matter of some very dedicated fellas that really wanted to get a film festival going and support our local community theater, which hadn't had movies playing since the late 80s. So those two things. We wanted to get movies playing. South Dakota didn't have a film festival. Let's throw one together, and we did, with not a ton of knowledge of how to do it, but we got lucky. We got some good films the first year. We got some good people that came to represent those films. We had some fun. The local community got behind it, got some sponsors to support what we were doing, and then it just kind of grew. Kevin Costner got to our festival the year after that, which made the festival sell out, and people, bust in from all over to come see Kevin Costner, and that was amazing. And we just thought, well, every year's just going to be a sellout. It's going to be easy peasy, but it was a lot of work. Every year you had to wade through films, and you had to encourage people to come, and but it was worth it. It was a lot of fun, and we did some good things for that community and that theater.
And a year-round job, right?
Yeah, that first year, I think we had 20 films submitted to us, all on DVDs, and we passed it around, and, well, let's run 18 of them. And then, very quickly it grew to, hundreds and hundreds of films submitted, and it wasn't as easy as we thought, because we were, just to wade through all those films, it takes a ton of time. And to get those sponsors signed up, and then to pick which films you want to play, and we were a one-screen festival, so it wasn't. We weren't running hundreds of films. We took 380 films and narrowed it down to 60 films, and then to make it, we very, very quickly we said we were going to be the Good Guy Festival. So we're not going to send an impersonal email out saying, "Hey, sorry, we're not running your film." We actually called the filmmakers and said, "Hey, you're in," or "Hey, I'm sorry, we're not running your film," which kind of boggled people's minds that we were actually making phone calls. But that was cool. We became the Good Guy Festival, but it took a lot of time to do that as well. But again, it was worth it. It was a fun festival. We brought great films to town and great filmmakers from all over. One year we'd have filmmakers that came in from Washington, D.C. and Washington State, everywhere in between. Australia, Canada, Mexico. We had people coming in from England. We had people coming in from all over the world. It was a lot of fun.
Well, and it's interesting to me how you branded your film festival for the state. The South Dakota Film Festival.
Yeah.
You weren't just throwing, not, excuse me, not that like the Fargo Film Festival, but that's Fargo, right?
Right.
And so if need be, did you guys ever talk about taking the show on the road?
There were some times we actually had some other outlying theaters that wanted us to bring like a best of thing in after our festival, which we talked about, but there was some work involved with that, and we were all busy. We all had full-time jobs, so it wasn't easy. But yeah, we never thought I don't think we ever talked about calling it the Aberdeen Film Festival. It was always going to be the South Dakota Film Festival. The South Dakota Flower was our the PASC was our first logo, and we went with Mount Rushmore, which is hours away. But we just kind of embraced the South Dakota Film Festival. Yeah, it was okay.
You got a great story about some people trying to get there who had some flight trouble involving, it was Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, it was it was a couple years ago, and Anthony Michael Hall, you probably know him from Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, and Vacation, a million other awesome movies. But Anthony Michael Hall was coming to our festival. Stephen Tobolowsky's first year to come to the festival, along with a bunch of other filmmakers, were flying in on a Wednesday night, and I'm on stage doing a Q&A with a filmmaker on Wednesday night, and my phone buzzes in my pocket, and I look and I see that it's Anthony Michael Hall. So I better take this. So I leave stage and leave Tom on stage to do the rest of the Q&A, and it's Anthony McCall, and he's getting diverted to Kansas City because there was some rain in Minneapolis.
And for those of you who have a map of the United States handy, put a pin in Aberdeen and put a pin in where is it? St. Louis?
Kansas City.
Kansas City,
Yeah.
and see how far apart those two things
Yeah.
are.
So he's on a plane with a couple other filmmakers from L.A. Lisa Ann Walter, by the way. Lisa Ann Walter, people know Lisa Ann Walter from The Parent Trap. She was the nanny in The Parent Trap.
Oh.
And Lisa Ann Walter was an awesome guest. So Lisa and a few other people they're getting diverted down to Kansas City. And Anthony McCall's not very happy about this, and rightfully so. There was just a storm in Minneapolis, and planes got diverted. I got a call from him. So then I'm going to my office to try to figure out, what I'm going to do with this situation. And at the same time, I get a call from Stephen Tobolowsky, who's on a different plane coming from the West Coast. But he's telling me, yeah, we got Sully flying our plane, so we're going through the storm and we're landing. so which was awesome. So Tobolowsky, and he's on a plane with no other filmmakers. And he's solo, and his wife was with him, so he's flying solo. So he ends up getting to Minneapolis, but then doesn't get the flight to Fargo. So now he's stuck in Minneapolis. So I'm dealing with him being stuck in Minneapolis, not sure when the next flight's going to be to Fargo. There was a nurses' strike in Minneapolis at the time, so all the hotels in the area were booked by these nurses, and then these incoming flights, the people that were stuck there, they were grabbing hotels as well. So I'm dealing with Anthony McCall, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with him, trying to find him a hotel in Kansas City. Same situation. Everybody got diverted to Kansas City, so I had to find a hotel for Anthony Michael Hall like an hour outside of Kansas City. I had to get an Uber for him. I had to get the hotel for him. Nothing easy. Same thing with Tobolowsky. I'm trying to find him a hotel room because I find out that there's no flight coming to Fargo to Aberdeen that night, and same deal. The closest hotels I could find for him were like St. Cloud or like Rochester or I'm into Wisconsin. It's crazy. Actually, I have an aunt that lives in Minneapolis, and I called my aunt. I said, she's not really a movie person, but I'm like, Stephen Tobolowsky's stuck in Minneapolis. Can he stay at your house tonight? So I'm working on that. Well, finally, see, here's the story. Then finally, Anthony McCall, he didn't want to wait at the airport in Kansas City. So I got him an Uber. I got him a hotel. So he's all covered. But those other filmmakers in Kansas City, they waited around the airport long enough that at like 2 a.m, they flew them to Minneapolis. And I'm still in my office dealing with this. So now they're flying to Minneapolis. So now I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put all these people. And Tobolowsky, in the meantime, actually tried to get out of the airport, but couldn't figure out how to get out of the Minneapolis airport. Gates were closed off. It was a big mess. So he said, I'm just going to sleep on the floor. So he lays down.
And he's a tall guy, so he's taking up a lot of floor space.
Yes. So I'm not exactly sure where he's at, but he's sleeping in the Minneapolis airport at the same time that Lisa Ann Walter and my buddy Mike and my friend Rainey, a director of one of our features, they land in Minneapolis, and then I say, go find Stephen Tobolowsky. He's in the airport somewhere. Find him, and then I'm going to get you guys all an Uber ride somewhere and get you guys a room to sleep in. So they're rocking around the Minneapolis airport yelling, Needle Nose Ned Ryerson, where are you? So he actually heard his name and got up and found these strangers, and then they all got together, made friends. I got him Uber, and I got him a place to sleep in Hutchinson. I found a hotel in Hutchinson, so they slept in Hutchinson, and then the next morning came back to Aberdeen and flew to Aberdeen. And then Anthony Michael, he's stuck in Kansas City. I had to get a charter plane to go down to Kansas City to pick him up the next day.
And this is all going on while you are actually hosting a night of the film festival.
Yes. We were finishing up. It was about 10 o'clock when I got that first call. So we were finishing up the Q&A. And so then I missed the after party, which is honestly my favorite part. So I'm missing the after party Wednesday night, dealing with all this stuff. I was in my office all night long, and then dealing with all this flight stuff. But it worked out. They got to town, and Anthony McCall was an amazing guest, and we We did a little Q&A with him on stage, and he told stories. Working with John Hughes, we ran 16 Candles, and all these moms were bringing their kids to 16 Candles, and he was taking pictures and talking to fans and signing autographs, and he was an amazing guest. And that's the first time I met Tobo, and again, you know that he was just a great guest with stories to tell. And
he is an amazingly down to earth fellow. For some, I get starstruck from time to time, but he doesn't allow you to be starstruck because he's excited to find out who you are as a person.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So this last year when I had Tobo in town, we did an event in Fargo, and then I took him out to Jamestown and Bismarck. He had a new book, My Adventures with God, which is just a bunch of great stories that Tobo has told and written down and made a book out of it. So I took him on a little book tour. So we did this little North Dakota tour, and then we went down to Aberdeen, and then he was on Deadwood but had never been to Deadwood before. So I took a little time off, and we just did a little book tour. So I had spots lined up for him in Pierre and Rapid City and Deadwood, and it was fun. We would go to. The first time it happened was we went to Pierre. We did our event in Pierre. He told us stories, and we sold some books and talked to fans. But then we went the next morning to a coffee shop in Pierre, and we just sat at a coffee shop, and the people, he's got the face that everybody recognizes him from something. So we just sat there having coffee, and the people just started coming over and saying, "Are you that guy from Groundhog Day?" Or, "Are you that guy from Garfield?" It was kind of fun to see where these people would come from. And then I just brought a box of books in with me, and they would come over and, well, if you'd like to get an autograph, here's Stephen's book if you'd like. And it was, we actually started selling more books in the coffee shops the next morning than we did at our book events the night before. It was, people just loved talking to him. And it was fun just seeing where people would recognize him from. "Are you from the Goldbergs?" Or are you that cop from Wild Hogs? It was fun.
Since we're in Podcastville, Stephen Tobolowsky has one of the greatest podcasts out there, and I bring that up because he is such a amazing storyteller, and he has so many because of his character actor work that I could listen to him just tell stories all day, and he seems to enjoy doing it.
He, I think, is interestingly enough, he's one of those people who's famous enough to get access to a lot of interesting things, but not such, he's not a Tom Cruise person who's going to be, need an entourage of 30 people everywhere he goes. And so he's that perfect kind of celebrity where he can still do his own thing while at the same time, there are people across the globe who respect him so much. I mean, he's an acclaimed, theater actor. His podcasting, like
Tony
Tucker mentioned,
yeah.
The Tobolowsky Files is amazing. Listen to it. Local Hero, episode 2, my favorite episode of that series. He's a writer, The Dangerous Animals Club, and then My Adventures with God, where he talks about the Big Family Bible. He's just a really awesome all-around guy. Stephen Tobolowsky's Birthday Party, too, is a film that you should see that was the inspiration for the Tobolowsky Files. It's top-notch stuff, guys. It's
great. I enjoyed riding in a car with him through the Dakotas, hearing just tons of stories. It was great. And then, I'm riding with him. I'm working on a Sean Astin event coming up, so I'm riding with Tobo, and Sean Astin calls, and then I'm like, "Do you know Stephen Tobolowsky?" He goes, "Of course, we did a movie together." So then I put him on speaker, so then we're having a conversation, which leads into more stories that Stephen comes up with. He just got a great memory that he can come up with all these stories from being on the set.
Isn't that neat? So, okay, now you're a bit of a theater buff as well.
As much as I love movies, I think I love theater even more. That's crazy.
So do you have a moment that you can pinpoint where theater really inspired you, or something where you thought, "This is amazing. This is a show that everyone needs to see"?
Come From Away. I saw Come From Away. Thanksgiving, I was in New York. Do you know Come From Away? Come From Away is, I've seen Hamilton 3 times. I know that sounds. Oprah and I have seen Oprah 3 times. I've seen Hamilton 3 times. That's my joke. The poorest guy in the world and the richest lady in the world. But I saw Come From Away, and which is, if you don't know, Come From Away is the story of 9/11. when these planes that got diverted out of American airspace had to land in this tiny little town in Gander, Newfoundland, in this town of 7,000 people, just embraced all these visitors from all over the world and took care of them when all these big planes landed in their tiny little town, and had to take care of them. And it's just I was crying in the first song. It was an amazing story. Songs are great. Small cast playing multiple roles. I love those kind of shows. And it's just powerful stuff. I'm actually going to New York for Easter, taking my kids and my son and my daughter Nick and Gabby, and we're going to see Come From Away again. So
great.
Yeah.
And Nick is on his way to becoming a regionally and then nationally known actor. He crushed the role of Tevye in Fiddler this last year, so that's got to be exciting.
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. Nick's a senior at Concordia, did Fiddler. He wants to be a director, actually. I mean, he's a great actor, but yeah, his senior thesis is coming up. He's directing a musical called First Date. Do you know First Date?
Oh, heck yeah.
Zach Levi.
Yeah, was in it. And they taped that too, I feel like.
Yeah, well, there's a bootleg. Right? You can go to YouTube and find a bootleg of it if you want. But there's the soundtrack. They made a soundtrack. It had a very short run on Broadway. Great show. Fun musical about a guy and a girl meeting on a first date in a bar, and the dynamics of this first date, and the waiters kooky, and ex-boyfriends and girlfriends come into the picture. And so he's directing that kind of a regional. It's a regional premiere at Concordia, March 22, 23, 24, I think are the dates. Go check it out. I'm not sure when this is going to be on, but
yeah, it was awesome. So, do you remember the first time you saw a Broadway show? Do you remember the first Broadway show you saw?
It was a touring show. Probably Wicked. Probably was my first touring show. Minneapolis. I would be that South Dakota guy that would go to Minneapolis to see every touring show. I didn't get to New York until just a couple years ago. So, isn't
it amazing when you walk like down that street, like?
Oh yeah,
you're on 42nd, and you're on Broadway, and just everybody shows you've never even heard of are playing, and you're like, wow, I didn't know this person was currently doing some stage stuff. And
yeah, there's I dig celebrities in shows, but there's some. Come From Away has no celebrity in it. I mean, it's nobody you would even recognize, but it's an amazing show. I love that excitement of seeing live theater, and yeah.
Have you ever done a live show?
Yeah, I used to do community theater. I mean, I did stuff at Moorhead State too. I was a film and theater guy at Moorhead State, but I did community theater in Aberdeen, and I used to have nice big roles, and then my roles got smaller and smaller, and my son's roles got bigger and bigger, and yeah, I think it was like I think Inherit the Wind was the first show that. Nick had a bigger role than I did. He was Howard, the boy getting grilled by the two attorneys, and I was the bailiff, I think. And then we were in King and I was in the chorus, and he was the young prince. And I'm like, yeah, you're a pretty good kid. I think I'm just going to be a theater dad and drive you to rehearsal now. So
that's all right.
Yeah.
You can be the Rose to this situation, huh?
Exactly. I haven't missed.
Thinking more like the Morgan Freeman.
Oh, sure.
You're his.
Yep.
He's your Daisy.
Exactly. Driving Mr. Nick. That's it. I haven't missed a show of his at Concordia, by the way.
Really?
Not a show.
You're a pretty good promoter of seeing everything. I don't know how you find all the time to do it, because I turn you down on a constant basis.
You do. I saw Hand to God like 5 times, JJ.
Did you really?
You're amazing. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So it was like a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about a year ago that we did that show.
I just moved to town. I didn't know who you were, but you were amazing in that show.
I've only done three theater pieces since I've been in what I would consider an adult that are not improv based. The first was La Cage aux Folles when I was in Chicago, and that was awesome. That was amazing because that was the first time I worked with people who were part of a union, and so that was pretty nifty. And then I did The Underpants, which is a German play that Steve Martin adapted that Tucker directed.
Oh.
And
Not Captain Underpants.
not Captain Underpants. It could have been, but we decided to go with something a little better. And then Hand to God. So 2 Theater B shows in Fargo, and then I don't even remember what the name of the crappy theater company was in Chicago. In Chicago, theater companies are a dime a dozen. Everybody's got their own theater company, and it's always named after some Chicago landmark. Like, we're the Sears Tower Players.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, or we're the Miracle Mile Magicians. And it's all just crappy stuff like that. And then they all aspire to be the next Steppenwolf. But there's a lot of room in between, the Lenny's hot dog troop and Steppenwolf. But I saw a show there
We're
called
the murder crime rate mountaineers.
yeah. I saw a show there called Superior Donuts with Michael McKean.
I know that show. Yeah.
Phenomenal. What CBS has done to that show, turning it into a sitcom, is nothing short of kicking a nun in the teeth. It is. They watered it down so much, and they took the bite out of that thing and added a laugh track. I couldn't believe it. And whoever wrote Superior Donuts must have gotten just a horrible deal when that thing was on Broadway, because he must not have made any money at all. That's why he had to sell out to CBS. Ugh. Why CBS? Why?
Damn you, CBS.
But is interesting.
Brent, I have a question, JJ, if you don't mind.
Go for it. I'm going to take a sip of water.
Should we talk about your movies? Because I've seen all your movies too, Tucker. And
Oh,
they're
no.
amazing.
You haven't seen all of them.
That's not
Okay.
true. We talked about one that had a one-night-only screening.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
That was in high school.
Oh, okay.
That was, yeah.
How many
I'll get
of
you
your
a
movies
copy.
have played at South Dakota Film Festival?
I think it's 3 or 4 maybe. The first Mo, and then I think
First Mo was awesome.
I think all 3 of the docs with Greg. I believe. So off the top of my head, I think it's 4. But yeah, my question for you is, I first met you through the South Dakota Film Festival, so I always associate you with film festivals in my head. Like, it's just you and film festivals go together. And I'm really interested in your opinion on the importance of film festivals in this day and age of Netflix and YouTube and big blockbuster movies that are probably the only ones that come to your theater if you're not New York or Chicago. What is it about film festivals that you think is culturally or important?
Well, it's important for those filmmakers to get their art on a big screen for people to watch and not turn off after 1 minute. Netflix is so easy for you to just start watching something and I don't like this, and they turn it off, right? I mean, people do it, but you're forced to sit through it, and you'll get into it. I mean, if the movie's playing at a film festival, it's good. It might not be your cup of tea. That's why I love running short films, because you run something and it might be not everybody's cup of tea, but that short's going to be done in a few minutes, and something else is going to be coming around the corner. And you're most likely going to like a majority of that stuff. What were you going to say?
I think that there's a major importance to seeing a movie in a theater with people that you don't know, who have opinions that you don't share, and enjoying that group experience. So I think it teaches people when to laugh at certain things. It also is a cue to, like, why is everyone laughing? Did I miss something? And it gets your brain to catch up with, like, oh, because he said he hated Twizzlers. I see what's funny there. Or the communal feeling of terror in a movie with a good jump or a thrilling piece. I think it's so important to experience movies with other people.
It is.
And you might say, oh, I have my buddies over and we have 6 of us on a couch. It's different when there's people you've never known before. What was the Judi Dench and Steve Coogan movie that came out a couple years ago, where she was a woman? They went to track down her son that she had given up for adoption.
Yeah, I remember it too, but I can't remember the title.
There were 2 older women who were openly weeping in front of me when I saw that movie, and obviously one of them had an experience that was being mirrored on the big screen in some way, shape, or form. And I remember the movie became all the more powerful to me because you're not just watching characters on a screen, you're watching a story that really touches certain people. So even though I haven't had that experience, I'm living vicariously through the person in front of me who's having that emotional reaction. Which is why I always tell people, like, if we could just get Captain Ron re-released, everyone would see what I'm talking about with that movie.
The Q&As after if those filmmakers come to the festival, go to the Fargo Film Festival. Some of those filmmakers are there, and then you get to hear their story, why they came up with this, and what they were thinking, and what's going on. That's interesting. And then you see them later and have another conversation about that film, and it's a lot of fun.
And people, Tucker and I won a competition years ago called the 48-Hour Film Project. It goes on across the world right now, and we had a movie called Milk Babies that played in Fargo.
Okay.
Literally about a mutant. Did we decide they were aliens?
No, they were just lab experiments, basically.
That's what it was.
But the required ingredient was dairy products.
Yeah. So we buried our friends up to their belly buttons in a garden, and we had Tucker's grandmother pour milk on them, and they were plant-human hybrids. And then it turns out that, like, the milkman has to fight them because they are bent on global domination.
Why have I not seen this?
It is, and Tucker made the choice to do it in black and white, which was just brilliant. Just so good.
We'll cue it up for you once we're done here before you take off.
Sounds like a preview for Body Snatchers, right?
It's got that kind of 50s, like, that's the idea that you're going behind.
Yep, I got it.
And it's also
Is that 2006?
No, it's before 2006, I think.
Is it? I mean, it's over.
It's before I even started dating Jill, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, in fact, it was definitely before I ran for mayor of Fargo. It was definitely before that.
You ran for mayor? I'm learning so much today.
It was 2006 because all the other candidates were pretty pissed because I was on the cover of the Forum in a Spider-Man shirt.
In your Spider-Man shirt?
Yep.
The Forum was so pumped that you were running because they had so many great headlines. This is a diversion, but I remember, because I had turned 21 that year. And for my 21st birthday, JJ's like, you know what I'm doing, Tucker? I'm taking you to Vegas. I got it, man. I'm taking you to Vegas. So we go to Vegas. He had just announced that he was running for mayor like the week prior. And so the Forum was trying to get him for a quote. And they couldn't because he was on vacation in Vegas. So that's what they wrote in the papers. Of the first article about you running for mayor said that you were on vacation in Vegas and couldn't answer any press questions.
And we'll get back to Brent in a second. But what's really good about that is in the waiting room, like while we're waiting to get on the plane, we run into a couple of our other friends who are also going to Las Vegas. And they have just met a stripper from Fargo who's going to Las Vegas because they would go down and, like, strip for a week and make a ton of money and come back.
Sure.
And so we get off the plane, and we had hotel arrangements, but they hadn't made any hotel arrangements. So they came and stayed with us. We had, like, 9 people in one hotel room.
Who were getting into massive political arguments on the plane, in restaurants. And JJ and I were the only two not doing it, and we were super uncomfortable. But that was a pretty good trip.
And then those same people, when we finally said, "Listen, you guys have got to go get your own hotel room. This is, we're butt to knees over here, okay?" They grabbed their luggage and they make arrangements to go to another hotel, and they got mugged in between our hotel and their new hotel, and they were. And, like, the cops called, like, an hour later, and they were shaken up so that we're like, we'll come back to our hotel where it's safe. You shouldn't have picked the Howard Johnson by the airport. And they came back, and then the cops called, and they're like, good news, we found your bags. And they're like, oh, thank God, our clothes, our money, all this stuff. Well, they didn't find any of that. They just found the bags in a dumpster. So they had empty suitcases with nothing else in it. It was a pretty amazing trip. But I digress. So
let's go back to your did you do your press conference announcing your campaign in a Spider-Man costume?
No, I was
that would have been perfect.
Yeah, I was very I was very professional. I will tell you this too. So when I ran for mayor in 2006, it's 2018 now as the time we're recording this. Almost all of the stuff that I brought up are that things that Fargo needed, and the outsourcing of our creative talent, and the fact that, we want to draw people. We don't want to have high school students who can't wait to get out of here. We want them to be excited to stay here, and we want high school students from other areas to be excited to come here. All of this stuff that I pushed, that everyone thought were the ramblings of a crazy 23-year-old, are now commonplace in Fargo. For example, I made a big stink about getting an ice rink in downtown Fargo. Then all of a sudden they put an ice rink and they're like, "Oh, isn't Fargo great?" Like, I said that in 2006. 2006. And we had a much better place for it than where it is right now. I had also pushed for a 4-way stop. I think it's 5th Street South where Island Park meets, right there by the Park Tower Apartments. And I said it's a 2-way stop. It should be a 4-way stop. It's a park there. These are the little things we can do to improve. Well, I just noticed that 4 months ago, they turned that into a 4-way stop.
They've had all your ideas written down, and they're just slowly checking them off.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the candidates offered me a deal to take a dive because I must have been trending in a poll he took, but he said, "Listen, I think it would be a sexy move." Now, he approaches me in a bathroom and tells me, "I think it would be a sexy move if you pulled and told your support to, you're behind me."
He was pulling an LBJ on you.
Yeah, exactly.
he was trying to strong arm you and
we were judging
the JJ wagon.
Yeah, we were judging the Rib Fest at the time. So I've got my face is covered in barbecue sauce. We're standing at a urinal, and he's asking me this, and I thought, well, this is politics.
Yeah.
Best thing about that election, though, is you did not come in last.
Darn tootin' I didn't come in last. An
What
old
was-
man
what
named
was-
Richard did.
What was his name? The gentleman's Richard.
Old man Dick.
Richard,
I'm blanking on it.
I can't remember.
But he ran for mayor every election cycle on the platform of we need more skywalk in downtown Fargo.
He wanted to finish the Skyways, which is now a major topic of discussion that's going on with, like, now the Kilbourne's buying up all these buildings. They're like, we want to finish the Skyway system. I'm like, that dude was talking about he wanted that for 30 years. A walkable downtown during the winter weather, and it makes total sense, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
This is all going to get cut, right? We're coming back to me, right?
Yeah, we're
This guy.
my guess is Brent Brandt.
No,
Brent,
and yes.
I'm looking. You brought a notebook here, and it's a TEDx Fargo notebook. Where did you? I have spoken twice at TEDx, and I have not received a
stole
notebook.
this off the gift bag pile that said JJ Gordon.
Did it really?
Yep.
Oh, I knew it.
Yep. I didn't
Now
know
I'm just
you then.
stuck with a bunch of buttons.
You didn't get one of these?
No,
It's
I didn't
pretty
get a
nice.
cool TEDx Fargo.
For you.
Yeah.
You know, Brent, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw you running for office one day. You're one of the most organized, energetic dudes I
Brent
know.
Brandt for mayor. Brent Brandt for mayor.
Comptroller.
Do you want
I
me to
will
get the
wear a
paperwork started for that?
Spider-Man costume in my...
If you ever do become mayor, I need you to promise me one thing.
I'm there. What is it?
I need you to wear the mayor sash all the time that you see in movies, but you never see in real life. In TV shows, the mayor who has a sash that says mayor.
Yeah, like in The Music Man.
Yep, you need that all the time at every official function.
I don't know why if I was
Deal.
ever given a sash,
Thank you.
I would be wearing it nonstop.
Of course.
If I was like Miss America, why did she ever take the sash off?
Or the crown.
Yeah, just find a way to sleep in it.
Exactly.
And, like, otherwise, how are people going to know what you have accomplished if you don't have a sash?
If I ever became mayor, I would carry that big key with me.
I stopped
wherever I
wearing
went as
my
well.
Oh.
graduated high school sash just like 2 years ago.
There you go.
You know?
And it's only because it's so stained.
It was useful. You don't need a resume. You just point to the sash.
Let's get some sashes made for JJ Meets World. Could you get on that, please?
Done.
And so
That'll be our first merch.
Yeah, when we go out to, in fact, let's get a T-shirt that looks like there's a sash on it.
Oh, that's
the design
perfect.
right there.
Yes.
Yep. I think we just accomplished it. Well done, team. Well done. We got there. Brent, tell me something that you are secretly ashamed that you love, and that you're gonna tell the world right here, right now. So, for example, I'll
You're gonna start it?
lead by design. I have got an affinity for eating Mexican Village hot sauce with yellow corn tortilla chips, but with strawberry yogurt as well. So I'll eat chips and hot sauce, spoon of yogurt. Chips and hot sauce, spoon of yogurt. So it's sort of like fire and ice at the same time. But it's disgusting. I've had 2 other people try it, and they go, the mixture of hot sauce and curdled dairy is awful. And I'm like, I guess I just like the tummy ache it gives me.
I'm with you.
Well, JJ, you're the same dude that for years your nightly and morning ritual was that night he'd open a can of Diet Coke, but then leave it out so it became warm and flat. And then the first thing in the morning, that's what he'd grab.
Just chug it out.
He'd
I
chug
love,
that
to this day, flat, room temperature Diet Coke, which is why I think I like fountain Diet
How
Coke
many
the most.
Jenny Craig points? It's a warm, flat Diet Coke.
I am allowed all the diet soda I can handle. I will say, though, I just read a study that it's not a study. That's the wrong word to say. I read the ramblings of a woman with a blog about how she has read studies that link diet soda to dementia, which runs in my family. And so now I'm only drinking these chocolate dream shakes by Jenny Craig, which have 100 calories but 4 grams of fiber. So
How much protein?
12 grams.
Oh, this is a good.
Yeah, it's a good little shake. And it actually it tastes really good too. That's the nice thing about it. I brought my lunch.
Is this podcast sponsored by Jenny Craig?
It's not. Hopefully it will eventually.
All right.
I've got a laundry list. In my other life, I have something that is sponsored by JC, as I like to refer to it, which makes me think that Jesus has a weight loss program. If we could get abs like JC, oh man. But there's a laundry list of things you need to include with it for like promotional consideration. And so I'm not going to hit them up until I need to really lose that last 40. I'm down 30 pounds, by the way, everybody. Like, isn't that great?
Yay.
Isn't that exciting?
Oh, it's awesome.
And I feel like a better man. I've tried to convince Brent to do it. I think that you would enjoy it.
Get your fat ass on Jenny Craig.
That's how you know he likes you more than me, because I'm fat and he has never said anything to me about Jenny Craig.
Tucker doesn't have the wherewithal to stick to it. I know he would.
I'm very impressed and proud of you, JJ. I'm gonna do it.
Good. It's so we don't need to get to a commercial for that, but it's very easy. I was at a storefront for Harry and David. You know Harry and David, like they deliver fruit and Moose Munch and stuff like that. No, this is in the Twin Cities.
Okay.
And this woman kept following me around and be like, "Can I offer you a free truffle?" And I'm like, "No, thank you." And she goes, "How about we've got new Moose Munch double chocolate dipped in caramel?" And I said, "No, thank you." And she goes, "Maybe I could interest you in these ranch snaps." And I finally said, "Listen, lady, I am on a weight loss program right now." And she's like, "I know, but we have a policy here where I have to follow the people who are here, and there's nobody else in the store, so I need to continually offer it, and I'm not allowed to go into the hall and sell them to people who are walking by. They have to be in the store." And I said, "All right, so should I pretend to take one?" She goes, "If you take one, I can leave you alone."
Oh.
So I take one, and I don't bother putting it in my pocket. I just hold it between my thumb and index finger and walk it around, keeping it away from me, like just by accident. I'll accidentally like, "Oh no, oh, I ate it," wrapper and all. So, what's your embarrassing thing? Let's tie this thing.
Oh, there was
around.
a question in that.
And not embarrassing. Embarrassing's the wrong word. What's the secret? I want to know what your secret is. Shame, right? Secret shame. Yeah.
My secret shame is that even though I spent a good amount of time with Sean Astin, brought him to Fargo, we did a fun event, and then I brought him down to Aberdeen, and he was a great guy. I have yet to watch Stranger Things Season 2.
Spit take what?
I know. Well, I kind of found out from Sean, some details as we were drinking and eating at Vinyl Taco. Commercial by Vinyl Taco. Here. So I kind of knew what was going on, but I love Season 1. And then, he's in Season 2, and I have yet to watch that.
Season 2 is strong.
I know.
It's very strong.
I know it is. There's so much. There are so many things that are out there that I want to see.
It's hard nowadays, isn't it?
Tobolowsky, he's in He's in shows that I don't watch.
You watch the Goldbergs?
Well, I watch the Goldbergs. But what was the who's Stu? He was Stu in what show?
Oh, Californication.
Californication.
He's amazing. They find ways in Californication to constantly put him in a Speedo.
Yes.
In fact, I wanted to ask him, I was like, did they have to enhance that, or is that all you, big guy?
I am.
I'm impressed.
Have you watched White Famous?
He's a tall man.
He is a tall man, very tall man. He's also pretty like hairy, and he plays a producer in Californication, and he does such a perfect, like a movie producer. He does a perfect job. I haven't watched White Famous yet.
So he's like in like 3 episodes of White Famous, and I've watched those episodes that he was in. So and he's wearing the Speedo in every single one of those episodes. So he's just he plays a very interesting character, Stu. Yeah,
he had a
great.
series that I think was on Comedy Central for a while called Hollywood, Florida. That was really good.
Okay.
It was really funny. It was a real shame that didn't last longer. So
I watch weird things like. Do you watch LA to Vegas? It's a TV show. It's that flight that goes from LA to Vegas on the weekend, and all the eccentric strippers and gamblers.
Is it
that are
a
on those
reality
shows.
show,
No,
or-
no, it's a real TV show. The captain is Dermot Mulroney
really,
or
Ooh.
Delmot McRooney or or Colin McNeary.
So you're saying me is that sweet my best friend's wedding residual cash needed to be supplemented a little
Exactly.
bit? Right?
It's the guy from Fargo, the wood chipper with the accent.
Peter Stormare.
Yes,
right?
very
Is it Stormare?
good.
Is that? Yeah,
That's his
I think
name.
that's
Yeah, I
Peter
couldn't
Stormare.
come up with that name. He's on that show. He's a gambler on the show, and it's fun. Well, do you remember Happy Endings?
Oh, I loved Happy
So
Endings.
Zach Knighton is a buddy of mine. So Zach,
What?
Yeah. So Zach was on the last episode. He's going to be a new boyfriend for a stewardess. He owns a restaurant in Vegas. This stewardess, she's kind of the central character that you like. So she's on a layover in Vegas and meets Zach Knighton, who's sitting at a bar, and then you find out later I'm spoiling it. He found out later he owns the bar. But so
Ooh,
then I took a picture.
That's a big spoiler.
Yeah.
his bar ownership.
So so Zach came to my festival, and so he and I still chat once in a while. So I took a picture of him from the show, and because we're buddies on Facebook, he didn't even post anything that he was going to be on or anything. So I took a picture of it and I sent him like, "Good to see you show up on my TV screen." And
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
yeah.
What's it like to have a phone full of like celebrities that at a
it's not
moment's
full.
notice
It's not-
you can
it's
be
not
like,
full at all.
"What's up, Molly Ringwald?"
Well, the dumb thing is that I've got all these invites to go, come out to California, hang out with us, blah, blah, blah. And I have yet to go out to California and hang out with any of these people and sleep on their couches or guest bedrooms or whatever. Yeah.
You should.
I know I should.
The cocaine's probably way better in LA than at the South Dakota Film Festival. Way better.
Yeah, there's way
the
less
pinball
powdered
machines
milk. I've been to LA once, and I had a true LA experience. A buddy of mine drove from Fargo to LA, took us 3 days, and we stopped in Vegas, and it was the night that Britney Spears married that childhood friend of hers, like on New Year's, so everything was bumping, it was huge, and we had made arrangements to stay in LA with a friend of my Aunt Deb's who grew up in Fargo. Her name was Carrie Freddy. Grew up in Fargo, went out there, and became a kind of a bigwig at Universal Studios. Like, I think she did a lot of stuff in the production department. And so Carrie said, well, my husband and I are going to be in France for the New Year's, but you guys can stay at our place. No sweat. We've got a caretaker here. And so I should have known when she said caretaker, but we went there. They owned Bing Crosby's old mansion. And then Jerry Van Dyke owned it after him.
Sure.
And so there's pictures all over of Jerry Van Dyke, in the house, and there's pictures of Bing Crosby and Bob Hope playing golf in the backyard, like just chipping putts or chipping golf balls. And
We just lost Jerry Van Dyke, didn't we?
we did. Jerry Van Dyke is one of the most underrated comedians. He made an Olsen Twins movie hilarious. To Grandmother's House We Go, he and Rhea Perlman played con artist husband and wife duo who grabbed these little kids, and
He was my favorite part of Coach.
he was great.
He loved him on Coach.
Yep.
Do you? I watched a special with Craig T. Nelson where he said, it was impossible to do some scenes. And you'll notice how there are very few scenes that have Jerry Van Dyke with another person in the frame because you would just lose it. And he brought up a specific moment. There's an episode. Why don't they do this anymore? Do you remember like when TGIF would be like every single show is going to Disney World, like, and then they would find a way to cross, you know, into all these shows. There was one where Coach they were in Las Vegas and all the rooms are booked, and so he has to share a room with Jerry Van Dyke, who is a big fan of Elvis in the show, and so they lost his luggage, so Hayden had to wear Luther's pajamas, which are a silk version of Elvis's white jumpsuit, and they have to share a bed together, and it's wonderful. But then Drew Carey was also in Vegas, and so Jerry Van Dyke and Mimi hook up or something. I wish more networks would do that because that is just wonderful.
Very special episodes, yes.
But yeah, Jerry Van Dyke was hilarious. So we stayed in this mansion while we were down there, which was awesome. Their next door neighbor was Alan Thicke, and so we saw Alan Thicke walking his dog. Their back door neighbor was Gary Marshall, so we saw him gardening. And Jennifer Love Hewitt lived down the street, and a big gate in front of their house. You had to punch in a code. It was very cool. And then we met some celebrities, and we met a woman who thought that my friend Jared was for sure the son of a producer who she had slept with to get a part, and then he didn't give her the part. And she was positive. And so she was going to right that wrong by coming over and like just being awful to my buddy, and I loved every second of it because I just got to sit there and watch.
Who's the coolest celebrity you've ever met?
The coolest celebrity that I've ever met, I mean, I don't want to say Tobo because you said Tobo, but he was pretty awesome and very, very down to earth, which I really appreciate. Plus, I'm such a huge fan of the Tobolowsky Files.
You are.
But I met a guy named Kyle Cease. And so you're going to have to do a deep dive on this one. Do you remember the movie 10 Things I Hate About You?
I do.
Do you remember how the preppy kids were run by like one dude, and he was excluding one of the other characters? And so the friend of Heath Ledger or whatever it was, or Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and so this guy was Kyle Cease, the nerd. And so he's got one line where he goes, there's like ding dong. He goes, that must be Nigel with the brie.
Yes, I do.
And then they throw a party at his house and they take it over. So I saw him do stand up. I met him, David Spade, and Sam Levine from Freaks and Geeks, all on the same night. And they invited us out to have drinks and go to this diner with them afterwards. And he was such a cool guy. He was awesome. I also met all the people from Whose Line Is It Anyway after a live show. We went down there for Line Benders to Vegas, and they did an improv all-star show. So Drew Carey was there, Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery, all of them. And one of the members of our troupe got pulled up on stage to do a bit with them. And she, of course, has been doing improv for years, and so she smoked like she Ryan Stiles, Chip Easton, and then another guy. And the other guy, they just pretty much like shoved the other guy off stage because they're like, well, this audience member obviously doesn't get it. And it was just going perfectly with Natalie and then these other two guys. So afterwards, they were like, you must have been a plant in the audience, right? Like they hired you to come in and do this. Be like, no. And so they treated us like we were the cool people. And I'll never forget Chip Easton telling me, he's like, what's the name of your troupe? And I'm like, Line Benders. And having him walk away going, Line Benders. I'm going to like you on Facebook. And I was like, oh, we've made it.
I've got a cool celebrity too.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Jennifer Tilly.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten to know Jennifer through the show Poker Night in America that I worked on. She's a big poker player.
Yep, I did know that, yeah.
And her boyfriend of a long time, Phil Locke, is a professional poker player as well. As a great guy. And she comes on our show Poker Night in America regularly. Like she's probably been on 30 plus times.
Cool.
And one of the coolest down-to-earth people you will ever meet. Hilarious and incredibly giving to her fans. So every time we go someplace, there's usually some like Bride of Chucky fans or Bound fans that show up, and she'll sign stuff and talk to them about them. And just one of the coolest.
Dancing at the Blue Iguana.
That is not. No one has brought like a still from that.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, or even Bullets Over Broadway, which she was nominated for an Academy Award for.
And she's hilarious in that.
Yeah.
That I just saw the Broadway show of Bullets Over Broadway. They turned it into a musical with Zach Braff. Now, unfortunately, I don't believe Zach Braff has a big stage career. He just that Scrubs energy doesn't really transfer onto the stage. But she really is. She's much funnier than people give her credit for, and I feel like it's unfortunate because she's been pushed into these roles.
Yeah.
And she could do so much more.
She's brilliant, and she has a very deep understanding of comedic timing, which I think if an actor has that.
We take a look at Liar Liar.
Oh yeah.
She's great in Liar Liar.
I asked her because I did a long form interview with her for like about an hour and a half, and I asked her if was that her hand grabbing Jim Carrey's ass, and she said, "Yep, that was one of the first things we did." And we had to do it a couple of times, and he kept like coaching me, like, "Yeah, I really get in there, really go for it."
Interesting.
My favorite Jennifer Tilly movie is Let It Ride. Do you remember Let It Ride?
I know what you're talking about.
You never seen it? It's great. Richard Dreyfuss is a gambler who just has the day of his life. Everything he bets on, he can't lose, and Jennifer Tilly's his girlfriend. It's really funny.
Really?
She had a couple of stories about working on that, and that was fairly early on in her career, so she was pretty young.
Yeah, she was.
And yeah, she was getting bimbo roles because she was beautiful and because she had the most interesting voice.
Right.
You could probably notice, but and she gets that about why she gets cast in that way, why she's good at playing that type. But there's a lot more going on under the surface there with her. She's incredibly smart, and she does a lot of theater too. Still, our friend Willie Block, his younger brother, did a one act with her at a festival.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Not too long ago. Yeah. So anyways,
I met Jane Kazarinsky at She Loves Me. Do you know the musical She Loves Me? It played on Broadway. Zach Levi was in that as well, and Gavin Creel. So we were in the front row. I love sitting close when I can. So we were in the very front row. I mean, we are this between you. I mean, we're 4 feet away from the stage, and Jane Kazarinsky is doing her thing, and I'm laughing at everything. And then after the show, I get to meet her, and she gives me a hug, and she says, "You gave me so much energy tonight. You were laughing at everything." And she was very, 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 very nice. So,
celebrity encounters. Who
love
doesn't love a good celebrity encounter?
yeah, that's what part of what I really
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. He flies away from them.
I've always heard that there's certain celebrities who just, it's not that they don't like people, they don't like the attention, but it gives them anxiety. Leonard Maltin on his podcast talks about interviewing Robert De Niro and how Robert De Niro hates being interviewed. Just makes him feel uncomfortable. He gets very self-conscious about what's going on. So usually he makes a producer sit with him, or Scorsese or whatever it is. And I think Harrison Ford's another one of those people who just, it's not that it's all about privacy. I think he just doesn't know what to say to people, right? Especially because he's originated all of these roles that people have such a strong feeling towards. And that's great. But, after he was done playing Indiana Jones, he gave the costume back. He didn't write the part. He didn't direct it. Mm-hmm. In fact, the only reason he shot the guy with a scimitar is because he was sick.
Right.
And so I hate when I see people who are just being hounded. I've seen some celebrities who just get hounded, and I'm always a little embarrassed for the general public when
it
that
gets
happens.
to be too much for them. I know.
I mean, you must have some really good tips on how to handle celebrities.
Well, you don't. You got to give them some space and let them. When they get here, they don't know what to expect. I've picked up so many people at the airport, and they, even though I maybe have talked to them and kind of given them an idea of what's going to happen, they get here now. They're not sure if they're going to get mobbed at the airport. Although, I'm not bringing Kevin Costner to town every day. But these people, they don't know what to expect. But they get here and they find out that, that they can walk down the street and not get mobbed. And that's even though here in the Midwest, we don't see celebrities every day. But when we see them, we don't go crazy. We're very, nice and welcoming, but not overwhelming, right?
I've always wanted to open a resort just outside of the Fargo-Moorhead area that caters to celebrities, because in my opinion, they could come here and have a nice vacation without having to be mobbed by a bunch of people. And it's not like that there's going to be like TMZ is not going to set up a Fargo office, right? So I think you'd find it to be pretty easy. And like the fact that we have celebrities here all the time because of the Jet Center.
Right.
So, Tom Hanks has been to Fargo many, many times. I remember hearing a great story about there's a coffee shop in North Fargo that made good peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And whenever Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie would fly into the Jet Center, they would order up like 20 of these sandwiches to come and like feed everyone on the flight and then themselves and their kids.
Yeah, the Tom Hanks and his family went and had pancakes.
Yeah.
Early in the morning, they opened up a place for him. Yeah.
Look at that. We've brought it full circle all the way back to Hanks. Everything is about Hanks. If you had a Venn diagram of everything in the world and everything people love, Tom Hanks would be that section that intersects.
Without a doubt.
Between it.
And I was watching him on Bosom Buddies.
Yeah. Bosom
Back in the
Buddies
day.
filmed. Do you know what the next series was to use that stage? Cheers.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and it was originally the I Love Lucy stage, I believe. So, it's a very storied soundstage on that lot.
I love that show.
I also think Tom Hanks is one of those people that if I met him in real life, he'd probably be pretty nice. Karen. Oh man, why is her last name?
She's Alan.
No. No, she's
Carpenter.
She's a Fargo. She's like a film festival volunteer, and she's a movie buff in Fargo. Karen, I forgot your name. Anyway, she was in New York, and she was having lunch with somebody who knew Tom Hanks, and he joined them for like a cup of coffee. And I'm like, that is amazing. And he had his mustache from when he was playing Walt Disney.
Oh, sure.
Just announced he's also going to be playing Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, in a biopic. So he's playing Walt Disney and Fred Rogers. Who is left that is a titan of creativity that he could still play?
You keep getting skinnier, he's going to play you.
Oh, if only. Oh, the J.J. Gordon story starring Tom Hanks. And we just CGI. We'll bring in Robert Zemeckis and do some mocap for the younger version of me. Has Tom Hanks ever played a fat character in a movie? Like a fat suit Tom Hanks?
I don't think so. I don't even think on SNL. Like, he's been on SNL a bunch of times. I don't think he's even played one there.
He's one of the favorite hosts because anything goes when Tom Hanks is on.
Yeah.
And
you're not going to get a celebrity to sign off on doing David S. Pumpkins.
Right.
Unless it's Tom Hanks who's like, yeah, let's try it. And it ends
fun.
up being like the biggest hit from SNL for that year.
It became its own special.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know that Rita Wilson, or that is, what's his wife's name?
Rita Wilson.
Okay. She loves David S. Pumpkins.
Does she really?
Yeah, like that was their favorite part now in their family, that they talk about David S. Pumpkins all the time.
Do you ever watch do you follow SNL on Facebook? They'll do like the skit that got cut. Mm-hmm. Did you see the one that got cut last week? It was this Star Trek. Those Charles Barkley episodes 2 weeks ago. It was like it was a Star Wars. Yeah, it was Star Wars, not Star Trek. It was Star Wars. They were all characters in the Star Wars universe, and they were all talking. So Barkley's kind of watching as all these other characters are talking in different languages, and then to an R2-like character beeping, and Barkley's doing the, what language is this? How do you guys talk to each other? What school did I miss? It's very funny. Like, why did they cut this thing? It was very, very funny.
There's always the prospector, the Will Ferrell prospector.
Yes.
Who says, "Oh, hamburgers,
Oh, pickle shoes, oh, cinnamon and gravy." And if you hear me make the sound of a chipmunk, get real low. That's one of those sketches that today they would have aired no matter what, because they've gone for a much more absurdist style.
Right.
Because comedy is always flowing. It's always changing. Versus you look at the early stuff, and those guys came from a place at Second City where you used satire to create social change. And so, the very first sketch on SNL is I want to feed your fingertips to the Wolverines. And it was silly and goofy at the end because he mimics the heart attack, but also the idea of that, people are paying to take classes to learn English, and it's this weird melting pot. There's a whole book written about how that's the first sketch, which to me says you guys are maybe scratching a surface that doesn't exist, because Buck Henry just goes, we just didn't know how to end it.
Right.
But I find SNL to be so interesting, and of course every 5 years you see Saturday Night Dead. This is the worst cast ever. It'll never be this. It'll never be that. But
you don't want to talk SNL. We can do a whole show on SNL. I was the guy with my tape recorder before my VHS player recording SNL just so I could re-listen to it again. And then when I got my VCR, in 1982, paid $900 for the damn thing so I could record SNL. And then I would make best of tapes. Long before there was a best of Eddie Murphy, I would dub my best of tapes together.
I paid $25 for a VHS tape of the episode where Charles Rocket drops the F-bomb, because when I was in high school, there was no YouTube and you couldn't find the stuff. You could see transcripts, but no one ever had a clip of it. And so being able to watch that was very exciting for me, to hear someone say the F word on live television.
I do kind of miss those days where there was something magical about not having YouTube or the internet as an access point to rare, sought-after videos, and that having to get it in trade somehow on VHS tape. So when I worked in public access TV, that was like a lot of the meme or viral videos of that time were only on tape. You couldn't see them online. So
100%.
The farting preacher was one that everyone had, where someone had taken, I forget which televangelist it was. It is now on YouTube, but this televangelist was known for making these faces all the time. And so someone went in and made a supercut where they would add farts to every time he would do that. And it was amazing. The only way you could get it, that was on VHS, so we had one copy at the studio that I'd play for people when they'd come over.
I was also a big fan. Tucker went to a public television convention and came back and said, these are all the things that people showed me that you need to see. And one of them was this woman who hosted a show. It was like in the corner of a warehouse, and she had a piano, and she invited people from her church to come on and sing church songs. And the way she talks, she goes, and now is this person doing this? And they're a very good person. They go to my church, and we're going to have John Dacre. He's going to sing That's More, which is very popular with the kids today. Okay. And then,
and he's forgot the lyrics.
Yeah, and so it's just awkward to watch this guy, because she introduces him. She goes, his name is John Dacre, okay? And so then she starts playing. Goes, I'm John Dacre, and you're right. There was a time when those were like VHS tapes passed from person to person. Have you ever heard the story of Raiders? Those kids who did a shot for shot remake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love how that story
played
started.
here at the Fargo years ago.
It did. Have you seen? This is you don't need to pay attention to this, Brent.
Okay.
But have you seen that the documentary they made about those guys? Well, the one that they had, like, obviously they filmed Raiders, but the one where they gave them a production budget to go finish it.
Oh no.
The scene, the airplane sequence is the only one they didn't have, and so it's a documentary about them finishing that last sequence as adults. It is phenomenal.
That's amazing.
And because everyone's got other jobs, and it's awesome stuff. But yeah, we'll have you love SNL. We'll have you back. In fact,
my buddy Rob and I would take and we would dub like a music, like just the music artist, because again, like you said, you didn't have YouTube, so if I wanted to see, Tom Petty do his thing,
you want to watch Sinead O'Connor rip
Sinead
the Pope
O'Connor
in
ripping,
half.
exactly, yeah, it was.
Or like a.
I have tubs of VHS SNL things. I
They-
love them so much. I don't want to throw the damn
remember-
things, but they're all on YouTube.
I remember because I'm a huge Ben Folds 5 fan.
Yeah.
And when I was in school, they were still together and they played on SNL. And I watched it and I remember going, that looks like a band that's about to break up. And I swear, 2 weeks later, they announced that they were gone. So like I'm sure I can find it now, but I've always wanted to look at that performance again and see if I was right. Like that they did look like a band that was about to break up, because they didn't look like they wanted to play together.
Some of my favorite sketches are the ones that you can't find, and for whatever reason, they don't include them. It drives me nuts that there are not full episodes online, that they have to cut certain sketches, and it comes down to royalty stuff. You would think that NBC Universal would have been smarter. They've been around since the radio days. Come on, NBC, get your crap together. But there was there's a sketch where it was some guys standing at the edge of a polar bear tank at like a zoo, and for some reason they keep jumping in, and then they just throw buckets of blood up at these guys who are looking down. And he's like, well, he almost made it. He goes, if he just went a bit quicker, well, I can run fast. And so it's these guys jumping in, and it's stupid and silly and absurd, and it took me years to find the polar bear sketch. There's another one, too, where do you remember the old Samsonite commercials where the gorilla is throwing around the luggage?
Luggage, yep.
So it's kind of a parody of that. It's two guys having a conversation that has nothing to do with luggage, but they're baggage handlers, and they're throwing this baggage to get on the thing, and the way they're throwing it gets bigger and bigger to the point of where at one point one grabs it and he's spinning in a circle and just launches it. And those are the kind of things I really like.
Jim Brewer's in that as the bellhop,
He
I
is.
believe.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
It's good stuff.
Sometimes they would cut a third song, like Paul McCartney was on, and he did his 2 songs, but then at the end of the show, they must have had some time, and he did a third song, but that was never aired when they would rerun the show.
So someone got a private the 150 people in Studio 8H got a private concert.
No, they aired it on the first show. But like when they did reruns,
I see.
they would always add more commercials, or they would edit it down to an hour from an hour and a half, so those kind of things got cut.
Well, we need to become friends with Lauren Michaels and find that out.
Darn tootin'.
Our guest, Brent Brandt, thank you very much for being on today.
Brent Brandt for mayor.
Brent Brandt for mayor. Sashes for everyone. If you moved to, like, Glendon, you could probably have a fighting chance to be mayor.
There you go.
And, Brent, anything that you want to promote that people should see or check out? I mean, you already gave a shout-out to your son who did an amazing thing that existed before this podcast airs.
Oh, okay.
Or people might be listening to it in 2025.
Our Sean Astin event, I work at Hero, and I did a thing with Emily at the Fargo Film Festival with Sean Astin, an evening with Sean Astin, and I got some plans to do something else, so keep your ears open for another celeb coming to town. We'll do something fun.
And check out Hero. You guys have always got amazing stuff going on all the time. Like them on Facebook. Do you have a Twitter account too?
We do, yep.
All right, Hero. H.E. because it stands for
Healthcare Equipment Recycling Organization. We take donated healthcare equipment and supplies, and we get it to people in need.
Did you pick the word first and then figured out the acronym? Or, well, you guys can be the judge of that. Thanks again, Brent, for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Tucker and JJ. You guys are awesome.
It's JJ Meets World, but thank you very much. Look at the sash, asshole.
JJ Meets World.
Well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for today's show. For more info, including how you can help us keep the lights on by donating to our Patreon, visit our website, www.jjmeetsworld.com, or hit us up on social media. We got the Twitter, the Facebook, Instagram, all the sites that kids are using these days. And if you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World or dive into some of the old ones, don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. And if for whatever reason you'd like to book JJ at a live event, you just need to go to www.linebenders.com. So I didn't tell you this before we started this podcast, but I decided to wear flip-flops today. That sound, we didn't get any of that sound on the recording, right? Oh, thank God.